As I told you, paper 1, fundamentals of sociology. So what are the fundamentals of sociology? On which topics we are supposed to focus while discussing about paper 1? Actually, I have identified certain important aspects in paper 1. I mean, these are the topics on which questions would be asked. Even you can relate these topics to the question paper. If you look at the past question papers, most of the questions are related to these topics. And we will discuss these topics only in the class. One is emergence of sociology as a scientific discipline. So we discuss what actually sociology as a scientific discipline was introduced in 1839. It's a very young science among social sciences. Auguste Comte, who was a French philosopher, introduced the term sociology in 1839. Prior to 1839, there were social sciences, but there was no sociology. There was no separate science of society. A science of society has developed only after 1839, mainly because of the consequences of the French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, and Enlightenment. So, the topic is that what were the factors that contributed for the development of sociology as a scientific discipline? And there are many points which we need to discuss. The nature and scope of sociology. This is nothing but every science has its own field of inquiry. Every science has its own boundary. For example, if you take physics, right? Chemistry, biology, right? They have their own boundary, right? What exactly that subject studies about, it is clearly determined, right? So in a similar fashion, sociology also have its own fields of inquiry. That again we will discuss. So what is the nature? And here simply let me tell you the main, the boundary of the sociology is the human society. For a sociologist, society itself is the laboratory. They study about the man and his social life. Here man means including women. Don't think it is man means only male. No. Man. Generally sociologists use the term called man. Man is nothing but a human being. And man, his relations with others, his society, his social life. So, it is the holistic study of the human society. Everything related to the human society come under the umbrella of sociology. Then sociology and its relationship with other social sciences. Especially in the context of interdisciplinary approach. Every subject study about the society, right, by borrowing the knowledge from other social sciences, and sometimes they contribute the knowledge to other social sciences. Though sociology is an independent science, but it is very much related to other social sciences like economics, political science, history, anthropology, and psychology. Right? That means the knowledge is exchanged between these social sciences. So how sociology is related with other social sciences, that we have to discuss. How it is related with history, how it is related with political science, because they also have their own boundary. For example, take political science. Political science is concerned with the state and government. Right? And it also discusses about political system, political ideologies, political movements. But in what way sociology is concerned with political science? Yes, sociology borrows the knowledge and also gives the knowledge to the political scientist. Because sociology also studies about the political ideologies, political movements, political system. Okay. So like that, sociology is very much related to other social sciences. Then sociology and common sense. In fact, this is a debate-oriented topic. It's a very small topic. Whether sociological knowledge is a common sense knowledge or scientific knowledge. For example, we discuss about family, marriage, religion, political system, economic system. Everybody knows about this. Everybody knows about this. And what is new? What is scientific in this? It's common sense. Okay. So, sociological knowledge is a common sense knowledge. What do you say? It's a common sense knowledge, no? For example, if I ask you about religion, you tell, okay, religion means nothing but belief in God, belief in some supernatural powers, that's all. But what sociologists say, no, sociology is not a common sense knowledge. Sociological knowledge is a scientific knowledge. Why? Because sociology is considered as a rational and empirical science. What is that? Sociology is a rational and empirical science. That means sociological knowledge is generated on the basis of rationality, rational thinking. What is rational thinking? A scientific thinking, a critical thinking, a logical thinking. Then empiricism. What is empiricism? Empiricism stress on the reason. Reason means thinking logically where you have evidence. Generally, we term empiricism means any statement based on evidence. You get my point. For example, in chemistry, if you say H2 plus O, H2O, right? So you have to prove that. So in a similar fashion, whatever the statements that we make in sociology must be based on what? Some empirical evidence where the data is collected from the individual societies and groups, and on the basis of that theories are established. So sociological knowledge is not a common sense knowledge. That there is an argument. Now, I don't want to discuss in detail. Just I want to tell you what are the important aspects we study as part of here. Then just now I told you sociological perspective. Here, sociologists try to understand the society, try to analyze the social reality by using different perspectives. Broadly, there are these 5 perspectives: functionalist perspective, conflict perspective, functionalist interactionist perspective, feminist perspective, and subaltern perspective. So it's nothing but all these are the approaches to understand the social reality. Just now I have given you an example, right? Say poverty. Poverty is an issue, right? Then what is the cause? So we need to understand the reality. So if you look at the poverty from the functionalist perspective, whatever it is visible, right? You think that it is a reality. It is true. For example, some functionalists say that, see, a person is lazy, that is why he is poor. Right? We make these statements. No, a person is lazy, he don't want to work, so therefore he is poor. Sometimes in the society they don't have the resources, right? That's why they are poor. Sometimes we say that people do not have the proper skills to get employment, that is why they are poor. So that is one way of looking at the poverty, that is a functionalist perspective. Yeah, functionalist perspective. Then conflict perspective is different. I told you, actually conflict perspective was propounded by Karl Marx and post-Marxist thinkers. This is a critical view of the society. To get my point, many times we say that women in India are worshipped. It might be true, but it is not always true. The truth is something different. So what is that something different? You have to look at that reality. So like that, these are the 5 perspectives which we need to discuss. And different sociologists have used different perspectives to understand the social reality. Okay. Then methods. Just now I told you, sociological knowledge is not a common sense knowledge. It is based on an empirical evidence. So how to collect the evidence? Evidence is nothing but data. We use the term called data. How to collect the data? How to collect information related to different issues? So sociologists have developed certain scientific procedures to analyze this data, collecting data, analysis of data, and drawing generalizations out of that. To get my point, sociologists have also established several theories which are applicable to entire social universe. To get my point, say in physics, chemistry, you have many theories, which are applicable to entire physical universe. So sociologists argue that by collecting data and analyzing data by applying different methods, we can also draw the generalizations which will be helpful to establish a law of human behavior or a theory of society. So there are many theories of society. For example, take Emil Durkheim, a very prominent sociologist. He has established a theory of suicide. He has established a theory that's a very interesting theory. Why a person commits suicide? So he has classified the suicide into 4 types: egoistic suicide, altruistic suicide, anomic suicide, and fatalistic suicide. So this theory is applicable even now. Anyhow, I will discuss about that theory later. So like that, there are many theories. Theory of religion, theory of suicide, theory of social action. Like that, there are many theories established by the sociologists which are applicable to entire social universe. So these are the methods, like scientific method, historical method, comparative method, statistical method, case study method. And each method can be used for a particular kind of study. And sometimes sociologists can use multiple methods. They can combine like historical method and comparative method. Sometimes they use comparative method and statistical method. The statistics are used in sociological analysis. Okay. Then there are 2 aspects. One is method, another one methodology. Method and methodology. Here, method is nothing, more or less both are same. Method is procedure to conduct research. For example, we say experimentation. Experimentation is nothing but procedure to conduct research. That is called method. But in sociology, just method is not enough. In physics or chemistry, method is enough. To get my point, to understand the social reality. Because a scientist can work in laboratory, right? So they need not have any perspective. They simply work with the machines, right? Or some chemicals, they come out with some findings, right? But in sociology, a sociologist must have a perspective. So that is why method plus perspective is methodology. That means you must have a particular perspective to understand the reality. Suppose tomorrow if you become an IAS officer, and always I tell how this methodology is also useful for anybody to understand the social reality. Suppose you are an IAS officer, right? You are a collector of a district. As a collector of the district, you are supposed to implement several welfare schemes. Suppose housing scheme. You are supposed to give, say, 500 houses in a mandal, right? As a collector, you have to take decision. How do you take decision? How do you take decision? If you don't have perspective, simply your MLA will tell you, yeah, you give this to him, her, give this to her. He gives some list. Just simply you can allocate. That happens, right? But if you have a perspective, then you conduct some survey. You try to get the data from different villages who are poor, who don't have the house, who are poorest among the poor, right? Who actually belong to the low class. You apply your perspective. Then on the basis of that you allocate the houses. That is called the positivist methodology. Positivist methodology is a scientific methodology to come out with an appropriate solution to various issues. But sometimes positivist methodology may not be helpful. So, as an alternate to positivist methodology, sociologists have developed non-positivist methodologies. I'll discuss about that non-positivist methodology, where they use ethno-methodology, phenomenology, symbolic interactionism. These are the methods where a sociologist has to immerse in a community, in a society. They have to collect the data, and on the basis of that he has to identify the social reality. Generally in positivist methodology, you circulate some questionnaire, you collect the data, right? You prepare some questions, right? You can give it to your subordinates, some village secretary, collect the data, his name, his income, caste, family members, that you collect the data. That is, mostly it is quantitative methodology. It is quantitative methodology, positivist methodology. But quantitative methodology is not useful to understand social reality sometimes. You cannot, for example, take domestic violence. You see, domestic violence. Can you measure domestic violence? Can you collect any data? Can we ask a question to a married woman that whether your husband will beat you every day or not? Can you ask such kind of question? They are very sensitive. But it is a very serious issue. You need to understand. You need to come out with some policy. So you need to immerse. So there are certain techniques to collect the data in sociology to understand such issues. Similarly, tribes. Let me give you one example that Heimendorf, he was a prominent social anthropologist, a sociologist, a social anthropologist. There was so much of unrest among tribal communities in the then Andhra Pradesh, especially in Adilabad and in that belt. And then the Nizam invited Heimendorf to study why there is so much of unrest among tribal communities. So he has studied, basically he was from European country. He lived with the tribes for years together. He lived in Adilabad tribal communities. He interacted with them. He has collected so much of information by immersing into tribal social and economic life. Then he has submitted a report to the government. And that became the basis for formulation of national tribal policy in the country. So all these are the way of understanding the social reality. So like that, we have a critical social research methodology. I told you sometimes a critic is required. So some sociologists argue that what is visible in the present world is always not realistic. So we need to understand the social reality which is beneath the surface of the society. Beneath the surface of the society. If you look at the society, it looks very fine, right? For example, we say India is a great democracy, right? Yes, definitely. India is a democratic country. But can you say that in its practice it is really democracy? Democratic rights of the people are protected? No. So some critical thinking is required. Appending some critic, right, while studying a society. So like that, all these are the different feminist methodology. I told you, this is looking at an issue from the point of view of women. Most of the time what happens, the problems of the women are studied from the point of view of men. Do you get my point? Looking at the issues of the women with the eyes of men, then you can't understand reality. Is it true or not? The problems of the women need to be studied by women from the point of view of the women. Then only you can understand the social reality. There is a sociologist called Anne Oakley who introduced this feminist perspective. Similarly, postmodernist methodology. Now, postmodernist methodology is different. Now, many developed nations are slowly moving to postmodern society. Modern to postmodern. Where our life is conditioned by technology. Slowly we are also entering into postmodern life. Like without mobile phone. Suppose if I take away your mobile phone, you feel that as if life has gone. Is it true or not? Our food habits have changed, our dressing styles have changed, our thought process has changed. So we are in a postmodern world. So what is that postmodern world? That we will discuss. Then most important chapter is social thinkers. Very, very important. Very, very important means at least 75 marks worth questions are guaranteed from sociological thinkers. Pakka. 75 to 80 marks. At least you can find 1 or 2 10 marks, 1 or 2 20 marks questions. So here we have the thinkers like Karl Marx. Marxian contribution. Mainly Marx has talked about dialectic and historical materialism. He talked about theory of class struggle, theory of alienation, and relevance of Marxian theory to the contemporary society. We will discuss about all these theories. How Marxian theory of class struggle is relevant. How Marxian theory of alienation is relevant to the contemporary society. Similarly, Max Weber. Max Weber's main contribution is about theory of power and authority, theory of bureaucracy, and society and religion. In fact, Weber's views are in contradiction with Marx, especially with regard to capitalism. Both Marx and Weber, they have discussed about capitalism. But Marx was a critic of capitalism. Marx always seen capitalism as an exploitative system. Right? And as long as capitalism continues to exist, right, exploitation will continues in all the societies. That's what Marx used to say. But Weber has seen the capitalism from a different perspective. how capitalism is essential for faster economic development. Then we have other thinker like Emile Durkheim. His main theory was theory of division of labor and social solidarity. In every society you can find the division of labor. Division of labor is nothing but distribution of work, distribution of different kind of activities, both social activities and economic activities, right? For example, we are sitting in the class, but say somebody is preparing food for us, right? If you go to a hotel means indirectly restaurant is providing service. Like if you look at a society, the work is divided, right, among different social groups. But Durkheim was mainly concerned about social division of labor. Division of labor is two types: social division of labor and economic division of labor. Not only the economic activities are distributed, but certain social aspects are also distributed. For example, our values, norms, beliefs, right, culture, all these are part of the social division of labor. For example, the value system in rural areas is different from the value system in urban areas. Value system in traditional societies are different from the value system in highly industrialized societies. For example, take marriage system. I'm giving you as an example. In traditional societies, marriage is considered as a sacred bond between a man and woman, right? Where most of them, they believe in monogamy. Monogamy means one man should marry only one woman, right? That is the practice. And they think that in traditional societies, the society or family system is well integrated. Both family and marriage system, they go together. But if you look at the highly industrial societies, they are not now considered marriage as an essential for a man and woman to live. We are using the term called live-in relationships, right? Now, marriage is not a precondition for the man and woman to live together. And new concepts are emerging in many Western societies. For example, take single parent family. Family means mother, father and children. But today in many Western societies, even around 40 to 50% of the families are single parent families because of increasing separation and divorce. It's a trend. And another is what? Singlehood. Singlehood means a man or woman would like to live alone. They don't want to marry. They don't want to live with anybody. But they want to fulfill all their desires in the society in a different way. So you can find different kind of even surrogacy, for example. All these issues we discuss in sociology. Surrogacy. Today in many developed societies, Western societies, number one, woman is not preferring to give birth to a child, number one. They are very much reluctant to give birth to a child. And some of them would like to have a child, but they don't want to take the risk of giving birth to a child. Then they are going for surrogacy. Now surrogacy became a big issue. So like that, we need to discuss many things. Then suicide, as I told you, Emile Durkheim has formulated a theory of suicide. Why a person commits suicide? Whether an individual is responsible or society is responsible. Who is responsible? If a person commits suicide, who is responsible? Though suicide is a is a psychological aspect. But what factors actually push an individual to commit suicide? And as I told you, he has classified the suicides into 4 types. So he has identified some specific conditions which results into these 4 types of suicide. Like Talcott Parsons, he talked about theory of social system, theory of pattern variables. So these theories. Then Robert K. Merton, he actually basically a functionalist, talked about mainly social structure and anomie. This is very important. That means how social structure itself pressurize an individual to act in a deviant way. Actually, meaning of anomie is normlessness. You know, every one of us, our social life is guided by certain values and norms. Would you get my point? Values and norms. Let me simplify. Value is nothing but any social activity, right, which has its relevance, right, which people accept. That is called value. Whole of our life we have values. Values like I said good morning to all of you. Maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we meet each other. We may greet each other. Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. It's what? Value. Value is flexible. Did you get my point? But norm means what? Norms are standardized behavior of an individual. Society expect a specific kind of behavior from an individual. And society has established certain normative order which everybody has to practice. Did you get my point? Let me give you in a jovial way one example. Suppose when you talk to yourself in Hyderabad style, entra, right? Entra tea తాగుదామా అనుకుంటాం కదా బాయ్స్, ఏం బాబు అనుకుంటాం కదా, అరే సార్ క్లాస్ చెప్పి బుర్ర వేడెక్కింది చాయ్ తాగుదాం రా అని అంటాం. రా, యు క్యాన్. అదే మీ ఫాదర్ దగ్గరికి పోయి ఏం రా డబ్బులు ఇరా అంటారా? అనొచ్చా? ఈజ్ ఇట్ పర్మిసిబుల్? నో. So here with your friend it is a value, with your father it is a norm. So but these norms are violated. Most of the time it is violated by the individual. ఇప్పుడు మీరు వెహికల్ డ్రైవ్ చేస్తుంటారు, ఒక రెడ్ సిగ్నల్ వస్తుంది, ఏం చేయాలి మీరు? ఆగాలి. కానీ ఆగం, అవునా కదా? స్టిల్ రైట్ వి రైడ్ అవర్ వెహికల్. ఇట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఈస్ దట్? Violation of the value or violation of norm? Violation of norm. So Robert K. Merton has discussed about the different types of violation of norms and what make an individual to violate the norm and how it is related to our contemporary social life. That he has discussed. Similarly, G.H. Mead, theory of mind, self and society. It is again a very interesting theory. How our mind develops. All of us, we have mind. True or not? We have mind or not? Then what is brain? What is the difference between brain and mind? Brain ekkada untadi? Brain ekkada untadamma? కామన్ సెన్స్, ఏదో జోవియల్గా అడుగుతున్నాను. లెట్ us నాట్ బీ టూ సీరియస్. మనకందరికి బ్రెయిన్ ఎక్కడుంటుంది? బ్రెయిన్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది కదా. మరి మైండ్ ఎక్కడుంది? మైండ్ ఎక్కడుంది? వేర్ ఈజ్ యువర్ మైండ్? ఎక్కడుంది? ఎక్కడో చోటు ఉండాలి కదా. వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ మైండ్, ఇట్ షుడ్ బి లొకేటెడ్ సమ్వేర్. సో మైండ్ ఈజ్ అన్ అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్. Brain is biological, whereas mind is social. We get brain by birth. But that brain is sharpened through a socialization process. Supposing if you don't have that socialization process, you will be having brain but not the mind. So mind develops only in the society. That is the argument of G.H. Mead. There are many theories G.H. Mead has discussed about. Then we use the term called self. What is self? Suppose if you become an IAS officer, you say, I am an IAS officer, I am collector. It's true or not? So I say, I am professor. It's self. Right? How self develops? How this self develops? What is required for the development of self and mind? Okay. So these aspects are discussed by G.H. Mead. Then we have one topic called social stratification. You see, social stratification is nothing but division of the society into different social categories and arranging them in a hierarchical order. That is called stratification. What sociologists argue that almost all societies in the world are built on the principle of inequality. Right? You just can't say that there is equality in a society. Right? So people are not only unequal, but they are arranged in a hierarchical order. They are arranged in a ranking order where some of them are considered superior, some are inferior. And there are various dimensions of stratification. There are like caste, class, gender, race and ethnicity. Indian society, more specifically Hindu society, is stratified in terms of caste, where you can find the Varna system, Brahmana at the top, then Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Then Varna system has fissioned into different caste groups. It is said that there are more than 3,000 caste groups in Indian society. And no two castes are considered equal. All these castes are arranged in a hierarchical order on the basis of some criteria. Similarly, class. Class is a social group, right, which is based on the economic status of the individuals. You can find upper class, middle class and lower class. Like that, we have the inequality based on gender, inequality based on race, inequality based on ethnicity. There are theories. Mainly we have structural functional theory, Marxist theory and Weberian theory. Then mobility, social mobility. In many societies, people can move from one social status to another social status. Generally, we use the term called vertical social mobility and horizontal social mobility. Right? For example, a student, a person who has born in a very poor family can become rich, maybe after some time. It's a vertical mobility. And horizontal movement. Horizontal mobility means movement from one social status to similar other social status. So, all that we will discuss. Yeah, here we have economic institutions. In fact, in sociology, the main objective of sociology is to study, discuss and analyze the basic social institutions. We use the term called basic social institutions. These basic social institutions means what? Like family, marriage, kinship, economy, polity, religion and education. These 7 are considered as the basic social institutions. And no society can survive or sustain without these basic social institutions. And all these social institutions, right, contribute for the integration of the society both individually and collectively. So in this context, we discuss about economic system. And economic system in rural areas, economic system in urban areas, right? And formal and informal organization of work. We discuss about the economic system. Okay. Then politics and society. I told you, politics or polity. Right? Every society, right, have a political system, right? We cannot imagine a society without a political system. And most of the societies in the world perform their functions, the political activities, through a political system. So power and politics. So while discussing about power and politics, we have sociological theories like Parsons theory, Marxian theory, post-Marxist theories, very interesting theories. That means how to look at the power and from where power originates. Right? There are many theories. For example, there is one theory called theory of power elite of C.W. Mills. Circulation of elites by Wilfredo Pareto. Like there are many interesting theories which are very much related to the contemporary society. So we also discuss what is a nation, what is state, what is citizenship, what is democracy, what is civil society, right? And what is the difference between civil society and state. Then social movements across the globe, right? Different types of social movements have took place. Say, for example, in Indian context, Indian society has experienced peasant movements, farmers movements, Dalit movements, environmental movements, women's movements, all that we discuss. Then religion. And society and religion are inseparable. Right? Whether it is a primitive society or modern society, you can find some form of religion. So what is religion and what are the sociological theories of religion? And most importantly, religion and science. Religion is a belief system. Religion is a belief in supernatural powers. Okay. But whereas science is what? Science is based on an empirical evidence. Science is based on rationality. Right? Science is never based on belief. So then the argument is whether the religion and science can coexist in the society. Because since they are contradictory with each other, can it possible for the coexistence of religion and science? We have to argue. So, like all these aspects we study. Then family, marriage and kinship. We discuss about what is family, what is marriage, what are the characteristics, what are the functions, what are the changing trends. All that we discuss. Very interesting topic. Yeah. Social change. In the definition itself, I told you sociology is the structure, functions and change. So sociology is not just concerned with the analysis of the structure of the society, but it is also concerned with the changes. What kind of changes that are taking place in a society and what factors contribute for social change? What are the theories of social change? All that, and more specifically we need to discuss about the agents of social change. How education contribute for social change? How science and technology contribute for social change? These theories we discuss. All this is related to paper 1. Right? So I think now you got some idea, right? What is sociology? And whatever the topics I have discussed, questions will be asked related to that only. So based on the past question papers, I identified the important topics on which questions can be asked. And that is part of your syllabus. So there are 9 important components, 9 or some 10 important components in paper 1. If you are thorough with these 10 components, it is done. Paper 1 is done.